Good evening, everybody, especially to those of you who haven't been with us before. And before Keith goes ahead with the lecture, I just want to say a few words. If it's your first time with us, you're most welcome. And if you're a return guest, thanks for your ongoing support. The aim of these Tuesday night lectures is to educate, inform, and promote amateur radio as a great hobby and to have fun with science and technology. So these presentations are not exclusively aimed at the amateur radio community, and everyone is welcome. All presentations are recorded, so you know, and you can catch up on each presentation on our YouTube channel after the event. And you can keep up to date with our activities on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're a keen listener to shortwave, if you listen to the IRTS HF News Services, you will also get details there of our upcoming lectures. Regarding the running order of tonight's talk, the audience will be muted for the duration. For the question and answer session, and to avoid audience members talking over each other, we'll take questions in the chat function. So just put your question in there, and my colleague Derek will go to you then, just to moderate the question between yourself and Keith. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Keith EI5KO and take it away there, Keith.
Thanks, Emil. Okay, hope everybody can hear me there. What I'm going to talk about tonight is ham radio logging. Came up as a topic of conversation on last Tuesday night's meeting on here. Few people are not using any sort of electronic logging, still using paper. Few people are having problems with the likes of Logbook of the World and sort of the integration of all the different types of software, how to set them up, etc. So I inadvertently said I would do something for tonight, and hence why we're here. So I reckon this will take about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and whatever questions you have, like I say, pass them over to Derek and I'll try and answer them as best I can. What I'm going to try and cover, first of all, why do we need to log contacts? In what format do we need to keep a log? Where do we need to keep a log? What options are then available to log? I'm going to give a sort of a brief overview of some of the available software packages that are out there to log. I'll give a brief overview again of some of the online logs that are out there as well that you can use. By special request, somebody asked me the other night about DXCC. So I'm going to explain what DXCC is, what it's all about, and then give an introduction to the Logbook of the World. Okay, just in case you don't know who I am, I've met most of you before, but just about me. I started life as an instrumentation technician, a mouthful, and eventually ended up as an industrial automation engineer. I'm also a RECCE registered electrician as well. I have qualifications in instrumentation, computing, automation, management, health and safety, environmental management. Company I work for, a big American company, very progressive. And I said they let me do a lot of this over the years I was working for them. I now actually run my own business, thankfully. I was first licensed in 2016 as EI7 HEB, Hotel Echo Bravo. And like a lot of stuff, I try and push myself. The Morse exam in 2017 with the help of South Dublin Radio Club and EI7GY, who I see is on there as well. Passed that and was issued Class 1 license, EI5KO, I say in the, I think it was March or April of 2017. My big passion is technology and the use of technology and using technology in ham radio. Okay, so why do we need to log contacts? Well, first of all, it's actually a license requirement, and you'll find that listed in the amateur station license guidelines issued by ComReg, and that's ComReg document 0945. And you'll see several revisions of that, R1 and R2 and R3 and R4 and whatever else they are. That document is up on the ComReg website. Within that, what it actually states, there's a requirement for logbook keeping. And what it actually states, it's a condition of any amateur station license that a detailed logbook must be kept and maintained at the amateur station. That logbook must be kept up to date and shall be made available for inspection at the request of a duly authorised officer of the Commission for Communications Regulation. One of Joe's favourite questions in the HAREC exam, who should be given access to your logbook and why you keep a logbook. The logbook itself, there are 8 things that the logbook should actually contain. First of all, the date of the transmission, the time in GMT standard time during each day of the first and last transmission from the station, and changes made to the frequency, band, mode of emission or power, the frequency band of transmission, the mode of transmission, the power level in dBW or W, initial calls, that being CQ calls, whether they are answered or not, and the location where the station is operated other than your home location. So if you're out and about, if you're out on top of a mountain, then you record where you actually transmitted from. Okay, so in what format do we actually need to keep a log? Well, there's no stipulation in the ComReg guidelines as to what format that actually is. So you can keep a paper log, you can have a computer-based log, the likes of a word processor document or a sheet, where you type in as you're making contacts onto a sheet, onto a spreadsheet or something like that. And then there are the dedicated logging programs, again, through the rest of the presentation, I'll go through some of them, or any other type which can be inspected. And again, that's the important bit, that you must be able to show that logbook to somebody from ComReg if they require it or request it. Okay, so where do we need to keep a log? Paper log, probably at our station or the location we transmit. If you look on the right-hand side there, you see a big red A4 logbook that I started off as EI5KO, and I still tend to put all of my 2-meter or local contacts into that. If I call into the IRTS news on a Sunday morning, it goes in there. If I make contacts out and about, it goes into that book. Okay, then you have electronic. So you're probably going to keep a copy of that on a local PC. That could be a PC, it could be a tablet, it could be a phone, maybe whatever other electronic device you're actually using. And then the other form of electronic storage is on a logging database on an external service. So that's on a website somewhere, on a server somewhere. But the proviso again is you need to be able to access that if required for inspection. Okay, so what options are available to log? Paper logs, like I said, big red book, A4 sheet, loads of lines ruled into it with dates and times and etc. on it. There are any amount of computer-generated log sheets out there. There are plenty of templates for the likes of Word, Excel, some of the publishers, etc. You can download, stick them into a binder, and away you go. So that's your paper log. Any of the guys that are out on SOTA tend to bring a notebook with them, a waterproof notebook. So that is their log. When they come back, they may transfer it to their book, or they may transfer it into a program or something else, or online. Then you have the computer-based ones. There are any amount of dedicated logging programs, again, for your PC, your tablet, your phone, whatever. And then moving on, then you have all of the online databases. And to pick just a few, you have the likes of QRZ.com. You have the likes of hrdlog.net, eqsl.cc, clublog, logbook of the world, and a whole lot of more. I'll go through a few of these this evening and sort of show you what they do and what they look like. So what exactly is a QSL? A QSL is basically an acknowledgement that both you and another party somewhere else have made a contact. Okay, for that QSL to be valid, there are certain things that must match. Okay, so a valid QSO is one that matches the date, the time, the mode, whether that's CW, SSB, digital FT8, whatever, the band or frequency, and includes a matching report. A lot of the time what you'll hear out there, somebody coming back to you and asking you, what's my report? The reason they're asking you for the report is when you send up that log to, say, one of the external databases, it matches the time, the date, the mode, the frequency, and possibly a report. And if that report you send and the report that they send that they got from you doesn't match, then it's not a valid QSO. So you have to be really careful that you record all of that. Okay, so how do you QSL? Several ways of doing that. The first one is request it directly from the other party. So while you're online, you're talking to somebody and you said, you can say, well, I wouldn't mind a QSL card from you. Can you please send me your QSL card, etc., etc. Okay. Send them an email after you finish the QSO. Where do you get the email? A lot of guys will have a profile up on the likes of QRZ.com with an email address on it. Okay. Again, that can come in handy, and I'll explain later on why the email address in QRZ is especially handy. Another one is you can request via OQRS, and OQRS stands for Online QSL Request Service, and that is run by clublog. And again, I have links to clublog on at the end of the presentation. You can request via QSL pages. If you look on the likes of QRZ.com, you'll see some guys have a QSL policy actually written out, and they'll state that I only QSL direct, or I only QSL via the Bureau, or I only QSL via LOTW or whatever. Again, some, if you were in a very exotic location and you were making hundreds of QSOs a day, you're not going to reply to all these. So some people actually employ QSL managers to manage their QSLs. So again, on their page, possibly on QRZ or whatever they're using, will be a link to a manager. So you're going to have to go off to somebody who manages their QSL and look for whatever method they actually use to QSL. A lot of the special event stations, the likes of the DX expeditions, a lot of them will have a page which will give a policy on how to QSL. A lot of them tend to use club log as well through OQRS. So you can go up to club log, type in your call sign against the call sign that you think you've had a QSO with. It'll tell you whether you have or not. It'll tell you then how you can get a confirmation of that QSO with them, or a QSL. Once you get into this, you're probably going to want to get cards printed off. Again, there are any amount of companies printing off QSL cards. They're all different types and formats. Some have photographs on the front, some don't, and all that sort of stuff. I say it's up to yourself what you want to do. If you're sending off and looking for a confirmation, normally what will happen is you'll fill out a QSL card, you'll send it to an individual at an address. That address you'll probably get from the likes of QRZ again. What's normal is to include a stamped address envelope within that. If you're sending it to somewhere in Ireland here, stick a stamp on it, he'll send it back to you. If you're sending it abroad, then the norm is to send either a few euro or $1 or $2 or $3. Again, you'll see a lot of this on the websites. The guys who are more rare tend to ask for $2, $3, etc. for postage for sending it back to you. The other option is to send cards via the bureau if you're a member of the IRTS. Bureaus are operated through most of the radio associations throughout the world. What happens is, if say I have 10 or 12 QSL cards to send out, I package them together, I send them to the bureau manager. The bureau manager then sorts them out. What he'll do is he'll send it then in packages to Germany, to Holland, to Australia, to wherever. The only issue with the bureau is it can take a little bit of time. Don't expect a card back straight away, because you're relying on postage for a start, and you're relying on distribution at the far side. Basically what happens is I send a card from here to the manager here, he sends it off to Germany. The guy in Germany then will split that up. He probably will have managers for call signs, the likes of here. Somebody will handle EI1, somebody will handle EI2s, EI3s, etc., etc. And what they'll do is they'll wait for maybe 10 or 15 cards for me and then send it out by post to me. So it can take a little bit of time. The other one then, and the one which is the quickest of the whole lot, is to use one of the online methods, the likes of LOTW, QRZ, club log, etc., etc. Again, there's any amount of those out there. Okay, moving on. I'm going to show you just a few of some of the available software packages that are out there to do all of this. First one, probably the newest kid on the block, is LOG4OM, and that's log for old man, it's pronounced. Anybody who knows about a CW will know what an old man is. So it's log for old man, developed by Danielle Pistolato, IW3HMH. It's the one that I personally use, and the reason I use it is just the nicest interface, very modern, etc., etc. Next one, Logger 32. Logger 32 has been around for quite a while. Beauty of it, and it's used a lot by DXers in chasing DX. You can see at a quick glance right across the band exactly who's on. You can set it up that it gives you warnings as to what call signs you've worked, what you haven't worked, what you need, what bands you need, etc., etc. Once you're connected to some of the online clusters. Again, I'll explain what the clusters are and how to set them up later on. Another fairly new kid on the block, DXKeeper. Not just quite as graphical but it's part of a software suite. There are other parts to it as well, but this is just the actual logging part of the package itself. Again, you can see lots of information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take log for all men, again, which is the one that I use, and just go into it in a little bit more detail and show you how it logs, what it logs, and sort of the integration of it with sorry, some of the other ones. Okay, so that's log for old men. What I actually see on the screen, if you look on the top left-hand corner here, you'll see, and I'll show you that blowing up in a second, but you'll see that's the data entry. So that's what logs all of the information that's actually required. Okay, over here, you're seeing a breakdown based on whatever call sign I've put in there. You can see that I've worked digital here on 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters, and 17. So I need to work it on phone, I need to work it on CW, on all the other bands. Okay, what you're seeing here is the photograph or the card that this guy has actually produced on QRZ.com, because I have connected log for old men directly to QRZ. So the minute I put in a call sign, it'll come back and show me all of the details. What's very handy about this is I can see whether this guy uses Logbook of the World, eQSL, if he exchanges QSLs, and I can click on here, QRZ.com, and it'll take me directly to the QRZ website with that call sign and show me all the details. What you're seeing down in this pane here is I'm connected to one of the clusters, probably the one in Maynooth. What it's doing is it's checking on a regular basis who's actually been spotted out and about. These are all the call signs. Again, you'll see I have this linked over here to the band that I am on at a particular time. So if you look up on the top left-hand corner here, you'll see at the minute VFO-A is on 17 meters, and VFO-B is on 20 meters on 14 megahertz. So I have it band locked. So as I change band, this pane will change, show me who's online. I have it set up so I can see, I can filter it here by CW, digital, phone, etc., etc. I can see in here call signs I've worked, call signs I need to work, countries I need to work, modes I need to work, etc., etc. Okay, this pane over here, what I can do with that is I can link that to the radio, that as I change band, it changes with the radio itself as I change band, or I can leave it independent. So at the minute I'm watching 20 meters here, I'm watching 17 meters here, so I can see what's going on across multiple bands. If you remember back to the very first slide, or the second slide, or the first slide, I can't remember which one it was now, you'll see there are certain things that are actually required in your license to log. So this particular pane satisfies all of those. So you're getting in here, you're getting a date and time, you're getting a band, you're getting a frequency, and you're getting a call sign. You're getting a report, which is the report that you're sending and the report that you're receiving. So I change that based on the report I get and the report I sent. The one thing to watch is all of these programs are set on UTC, Universal Time. Okay, so although the license says you record it in GMT, everything in a logging program is logged in UTC. And the reason for that is if I'm sending a log up to an external database for somebody to check, okay, if I'm in Ireland, somebody's in Australia 10 hours ahead of me, okay, the program needs to do is the program needs to check the two of those times to see that they correspond. There's no point in me sending my local time, them sending their local time. So what's used is UTC. So UTC will be the same for them and me both. So that's the way it actually checks on time. So all of your logs should be recorded in UTC, especially the electronic logs. Okay, moving on to the next one. I'm talking about logging here, but in the modern age, how does the computer actually get all this information? Most of the modern rigs all have a data connection. So basically what you're doing is you're using either a USB cable or you're using a CAT control cable from your radio to your PC, which gives you data flow and control in most cases. So in my case, if I change a band on the radio manually, then it should reflect in the software. And that's done through either a USB cable or a CAT control cable. Okay, again, I'm just talking about log for old men, but it's exactly the same in all the other packages as well. If you look at the configuration here of log for old men, you'll see that there's a thing called an API key. If you look down here that I'm pointing on QRZ, okay, there's a thing called an API key. Club log will have something else. HRD log will have something else. eQSL the same. LOTW the same. But basically what happens here is if you set up an account on QRZ, you're assigned what's known as an API key. That API key is unique to you and your call sign. So what this program does then, it uses the API key to upload all of your QSOs directly to the likes of Logbook of the World. Okay, and if you see here, I have ticked automatically upload a new QSO. And you'll see a little note here that it does it randomly between 1 and 2 minutes after the save time. So I have made a QSO. I have saved it in Log for Old Men. Because I have set up this external service and this API key and told it to automatically load, what happens now is I don't have to go off and upload that physically myself to qrz.com. The program will automatically do that using the API key. And that, as I said, that API key is unique to me, so it will only go to my logbook. Again, within the program itself, you set up all these external services. So you have names, passwords, etc., like everything else to put in and set up. Okay, another very good, what I call it, probably issue with the software is this thing called ADI, Data Exchange, something fairly new. Again, all of the software can do this. I'm just showing what Log for Old Men can do. There's what's known as an ADI monitor function within Log for Old Men. And if you see there, I have enabled an ADIF monitor. So what that will do, I've had set up, I use two other programs here called JTDX and WSJTX for all of the digital stuff. So what that is actually doing, it's monitoring both of those files on a constant basis to see have I logged anything from one of those programs. What it'll do is if it finds something, it will automatically load that and bring that back into Log for Old Men. So it means that Log for Old Men always has an up-to-date log file of every single thing that I've worked. The way it actually does that, if you look at the end here, you'll see a pointer position. That's the last point in the file where it is actually checked. Again, I know I'm running through this. I say all these slides will be available. You can go through yourself and actually look at it and see what I've actually done. Okay, so what exactly is ADIF? ADIF is one of the most important things for logging in ham radio. What does it stand for? It's Amateur Data Interchange Format. ADIF is an open standard for exchange of data between ham radio software packages available from different vendors. Okay, so in our case, what that means, it allows the exchange of QSO data between different programs. And you'll find that most logging software databases have an ADI import and export function to allow for transfer. So what that means is if I log something in something like N1MM, which is a contest-orientated logger, I can then import that export from N1MM and then import that then back into Log for Old Men, which is my master database or master log file. If you look down the bottom here, you'll see within QRZ, there's a tab to allow to import and export. So I can upload an ADI file from my computer and import contents into QRZ. And again, I can export from QRZ to an ADI file and download it back to my computer to use that somewhere else. Okay. Another one that's used is a thing called UDP, which is User Datagram Protocol. Okay, something similar. UDP allows computer applications to send messages, in this case referred to as datagrams, to other host programs through an internet protocol. And to try and explain that, if you look here, this is a thing called JTDX, which is a program that sits on top of one of the FT8 programs. And if you look here, I have enabled Log for Old Men V2 logging. And I've enabled send WS JTX DX call to Log for Old Men through the UDP connection. And that's the address and the port number. So what that does is, if I'm in the likes of JTDX or WSJTX, I see a call sign, I double click on it. What that'll do is that'll transfer that from that program up to Log for Old Men. It'll then go off and search that and bring me back all of the details at the click of a button. So I've integrated now from WSJTX to JT Alert up to Log for Old Men, and connected that then up to QRZ.com. So that's all done through UDP. Just to give you an idea what that looks like in action, earlier on I was on JTDX on 40 meters. This guy G4DBW, clicked on him, made a contact. JTDX, you see, is running up here in the background, showing me what I have worked, what I haven't worked, what I need to work, etc. Who's using Log for Old Men, who's using eQSL. You can see all that once you get used to it. But the minute I clicked here, what has happened is it has populated the boxes in here. It has gone off then and found all the details for this guy. And I know he uses LOTW. So I'm more than likely guaranteed that I'm going to get a QSL from this guy. So that's basically it in action. Okay, moving on. Some of the online databases, I'm sure most of the people on here will be familiar with QRZ.com. Only proviso is it's only for licensed amateurs, because you do have to supply a copy of your license to QRZ.com before you're given access. Again, I don't manually enter anything in here. It's all done through the logging programs that I use. But I do tend to use it on a regular basis because I can go off and see fairly quickly. A lot of guys like me have a QRZ.com page within their own page in QRZ, and you can see fairly instantly whether you've made a QSO with them or not. Again, the good thing about it here, you can see I've made the star over here on the right hand side. You can see that I've made a QSO with Reunion Island there on whatever date it was, the 2nd of the 2nd. That can go further as well. I might show at the end. You can integrate that and download then from LOTW as well. And again, that'll do a double confirmation if somebody is up on, has it up on LOTW as well. Again, like all of these, if you haven't computer integration or if you haven't the PC connected up, every one of these online databases or every one of the programs on your PC will allow you to manually enter the data as well. And again, if you look back, you're getting the date, a time in UTC, as you see here, the band, the frequency, the mode, RST sent, RST received, power, whatever it may be, comments, etc., etc. Press a button, and that's it logged. But again, nearly every single one of the programs or the online databases all have that to allow manual entry as well. Another one that's become very popular, eQSL CC, and that's actually the website address is www.eqsl.cc. Popular because you can actually print off a QSL card straight away from it. Again, like I say, if you look down here, you can see you can upload manually an ADIF file, or you can do it automatically through the software. Okay, you have an inbox, you have an archive of all you've worked, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and that's what it actually looks like. This is my inbox probably a couple of days ago. It'll show contacts that others have sent and are sitting in my inbox waiting for me to reply to. I probably didn't do an update just before that. So if you look here, you have a guy from Israel, another one from Israel, Algeria. You take one here from Croatia. I know that from Croatia is up there. I have done it as well. So all I need to do is just confirm that. The rest of them that you see, I can either confirm or decline. But I won't do that until I have either uploaded my ADI file, which is my log file, or I have set it up that it automatically uploads. I don't tend to do it up to eQSL. I do it on a I think a weekly or a monthly basis. I upload an ADI file of the full log and go in then and manually do it. But as you see here, you can print off your QSL card straight away. No need to wait around for somebody to send you one, or for you to send them one and then for them to send you one back. You have it instantly. Okay, DXCC, one of the things that came up the other night. What exactly is DXCC all about? DXCC is a list based on this guy called Clinton B. DeSoto, W1 CBD's landmark 1935 QST article, How to Count Countries Working a New DX Scoring System. Again, as I said, the link in there will work when I put the presentation up. You can go off and have a read of it. DeSoto's article discussed problems DXers had in determining how to count DX or entries they have worked. He presented the solution that has worked successfully for succeeding generations of DXers. In De Soto's words, the basic rule is simple and direct. Each discrete geographical or political entity is considered to be a country. And this rule has stood the test of time from the original list published in 1937 to the ARRL DXCC list of today. For more than 70 years, the DXCC list has been the standard for DXers around the world. Okay, so what exactly is DXCC? DXCC, you're awarded certificates on reaching 100 confirmed contacts, okay? And that is broken down into categories then. So the first one is mixed, which can be contacts of using any mode since the date of November 1945. You have phone, you have CW, and you have digital. So those are the four modes, okay? Once you reach 100 contacts, 100 confirmed contacts on LOTW, then you're eligible for a certificate on reaching DXCC. Within that, then again, each mode then can be further endorsed by band. So you have 160 meters, 80 meters, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, 6, 2, 70, and satellite. So like I say, you can be working DXCC for the rest of your life, getting every single band, every single mode, etc., etc., etc. Okay, as of February 2020, there are 340 entries on DXCC. That changes over time due to, as they said, political entities appearing and disappearing, etc., etc. So at the minute, on the DXCC list, there are 340 entries. To reach what's known as the honor roll, you have to get 331 entries. I think there are probably only 5 or 6 EIs on the honor roll at the minute. The IRTS itself keeps a monthly list and status of all EI call signs, and that's available on irts.ie. I think I may have a link of it at the end of the presentation. It's printed for anybody that gets Echo Ireland in the very back of the magazine. It gives a current DXCC listing. It gives I think a change from the previous update, whatever that may be, whether it be monthly, 2 monthly, or whatever. So you can see who's progressing, how they've progressed, etc., etc. See all the active DX chasers. It also gives a breakdown by band as well. So you'll see who has DXCC across each of the different bands as well. Okay, DXCC, how to actually get going if you want to get involved in DXCC. First thing you have to do is download and install a thing called TQSL. Again, I'll show you in the next slide what exactly TQSL is. You basically install the program. You then request your initial call sign, certificate, and LOT account password. Basically what that does is it then gives you the facility to set up your DXCC account on LOTW, and it allows you then to transfer your contacts back and forward between LOTW and your PC. The next step then depends on whether you're, as I say, licensed in the United States or not. Nobody here, from what I can see, is in the United States. So I think what we'll do then is we'll skip. So there are basically 3 options available to you then to get yourself up and running on LOTW. Number 1 is you can email a copy of your license and a copy of a government issued document. So in my case, what I did was I sent a copy, scanned a copy of the license, scanned my driving license and sent it to them. Okay. What happens then is they come back with an email which contains your password and your call sign certificate attached. Again, I'll explain what that call sign certificate is and what it does. The second option, you can present it in person to an ARRL DXCC card checker. When I was doing this, I didn't even know such a thing existed. But yes, we have an ARRL DXCC card checker in Ireland, and that's EI9FBB Dave Dean down in Cork. Okay, so he will check your card and again, transmit that information to ARRL, and you again get an email and password, and away you go. And the third one then is you can mail by a standard mail a copy of your license and a government issued document again off to them, and again get your account password and certificate back. Once you get all that done, you install your call sign certificate onto your local PC, and away you go. Okay, so TQSL, what does it actually look like? It's literally a small program, sits on your PC, waits for you to do whatever you need to do. What happens is when the ARRL come back to you, they send you a certificate. That certificate is tied to your call sign, and it means that you and only you, and you can only upload from that particular PC. So in my case, I have a call sign certificate for EI5KO that sits on my PC. Every time I upload something to LOTW, it verifies that I'm sending from that PC. It checks that certificate, and if the certificate is there, everything is in place, it will then allow, and only then will it allow me to send that log up to LOTW. It means that nobody else apart from me can send that information to LOTW. And that's one of the things you'll always hear is why is the likes of eQSL and Hamlog and QRZ not accepted? The reason it's not accepted is anybody can get your API key for QRZ. Anybody can upload to the likes of eQSL. There's nothing stopping, and there's no cross-check to make sure that it's me and only me that's sending that information. So the only one that verifies that the transmission and the log file is coming from me is LOTW, which is why LOTW is the recognized standard for DXCC. If I want to send the log up to LOTW, what I do, again, you can do this automatically from within the software, or you can do it manually. I tend to do it manually because it gives me a chance to go through the log file and check if there's anything astray in it, or I made a mistake or something, double entry or something like that. So all I do is I click on sign a log, upload it automatically to LOTW, away it goes. And down in the bottom pane here, if I'm successful, it'll come back and tell me I have successfully uploaded that log up to LOTW. Once I'm logged into LOTW then, it's a bit of a mouthful there, you'll see that LOTW, apart from just DXCC, it can handle several other types of awards as well. So for EI5KO in Ireland here, there's a DXCC award. There is the WAS, which is Worked All States. There's the VHF and UHF Centenary Awards. There's WPX awards and WAZ, which is worked all zones. So some of the other bodies have linked into LOTW, and what you can do is you can check your award status within LOTW for all these other awards as well, not just DXCC. Okay, here's a typical screen then showing the confirmed QSLs. So basically what has happened is I have uploaded my log file. All these other guys have uploaded their log files. LOTW has interrogated both files, and this is the QSL result of both those log files now having been checked and cross-checked. So if you take the very top one there, for my call sign on the 2nd of the 2nd, I worked KP2B on a 15-meter band on FT8 on 21 megs, and that's in the US Virgin Islands. And for me, that's a new DXCC on 15 meters and on the challenge. Okay, the challenge, you have to get 1,000 unique QSLs to get again on the list. And again, you'll see that on the IRTS listing on the back of the sheet there, or the back of the Echo Ireland. And again, you'll see, like the second one here, I've worked this guy on CW in Spain, but I already have him for DXCC, so it doesn't count towards any award. So you'll see another one here, French Guinea, on 40 meters. I haven't worked them before, and it's in the challenge, and it's a new DXCC for me as well. Okay. Again, down here, you can go in and check any particular call sign, just a search function. You can look at your QSO, so every single QSO that goes up there, you can look at, and then you can look at what has actually been QSL'd on LOTW. Again, you can go in at the bottom here and check by award, etc., etc. If I look at my own DXCC account, you can see here on mixed, I'm just on 200. The last time I applied, I was on 172, so there's an extra 28 from the last time I made a submission to have it recognized. Again, down through mixed, CW, phone, digital, all down through the bands, and finally down on the challenge. If you look here as well, you can see I've been issued DXCC on mixed, on digital, and on 20 meters, and I have a few more now to apply for, thankfully. So that'll happen over the next while. LOTW, although it's great, comes at a little bit of a cost. So if you're claiming the awards, there are actually costs involved. Every time you apply to have credits, okay, there's a $10 application fee. For every QSO you use towards the award, you are charged 0.12 of $1 or 12 cents. There is a $2 fee if you're using a credit card. Again, using a credit card across any application or for any purposes, there's normally fees. For each DXCC cert that you apply for, there's a $12 cost, and a shipping cost for up to 4 certs will cost you $15. Okay. So as you can see, if you're doing a lot of QSOs, a lot of QSLs, the cost of it can actually mount up. But it's the same for all of them. If you want the certs from the likes of QRZ, you pay for your certs. This is the way that the likes of LOTW, QRZ, eQSL, etc., pay for hosting the service. Okay. Most people, if they're using LOTW, tend to update their contacts weekly if they're not doing it on a regular basis, if they're not doing it through the software, or monthly. And then they tend to claim their rewards either quarterly, biannually, or annually. So you could be waiting around on LOTW for somebody to claim their rewards. Although they put their contacts up, they what I call, some I've seen a year. It could take a year, could take 18 months for somebody to actually put their QSOs up onto LOTW. A lot of the DX expeditions tend to do that. The way they pay for their expeditions is in QSLs, so they tend to wait for that to finish. So it could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months before it goes up onto LOTW. So you could be waiting around for quite a while if you're waiting for that one to get DXCC on LOTW. One question I've been asked a few times is, so what happens if the other party doesn't use LOTW? You have a couple of options. You can send a paper QSL card. And again, like I said previously, normally involves sending a small fee to cover postage. A lot of guys nowadays tend to use PayPal, so it can be fairly quick. One of the fears of sending off the likes of a QSL card out to the likes of JT1CO out in Mongolia is you never know whether it's even going to get there or not, whether the $2 are, that you sent, and it tends to be dollars overseas, that the $2 that you put in within your stamped self-addressed envelope actually gets there in the first place. So I say a lot of them tend to use PayPal, which means you're guaranteed that the postage actually gets there. Okay, once the card actually gets there, then your option is to send it to a DXCC card checker. Again, there's an application form, there's a small fee, and then that can be included in a LOTW. Once the card's checked and verified, it can be sent then. Once it's sent back to you, you can send it on to the ARL. And like I said before, in EI, that person is Dean, EI9FBB. Very nice guy. Want to know anything, send him an email. Look him up on qrz.com. He'll explain the whole process to you. One question asked as well, will most of these online loggers or the PC loggers handle contest logging? Most contesters actually find the normal logging software cumbersome and actually slow to log QSOs. The reason for that is a lot of them are designed as more than just loggers. They are control, they are cluster controllers, listings, etc. So there are plenty of logging software out there that's designed primarily for contesting. What they tend to do is a lot of them set up the software for the required exchanges. So if you're taking part, say for instance, in the EI counties contest, what it'll do is it'll set up the software that it's expecting a report, it's expecting a call sign, it's expecting a county, etc. Where the general run-of-the-mill logging software doesn't do that. So what that allows is it allows rapid movement from one context to the next, which is what contesting is all about, getting as many contacts you can in as short a period of time as possible, moving from one to the next. The other thing as well is a lot of the contest loggers make it quite easy for you to go up and edit mistakes. So instead of having to open up another page, what it does is it allows you to go in and very quickly, if you've made a mistake in entering something, go in and change it fairly quickly, move to the next one. A few of the common contest loggers, the likes of N1MM, the likes of WinTest. WinTest is used exclusively, or extensively, I should say, in some of the CW contests. A lot of the machine gun CW you hear is all being sent from within the likes of WinTest. You still need to know your CW, but a lot of the contests have all gone machine-generated CW. Another fairly popular one, SD by Paul O'Kane, EI5DI, for anybody that's doing the county contests, UK EI contests, etc. Probably one of the best for that, because Paul, being EI, has tailored the software for a lot of the local contests. Most of these ones, I say, all provide this ADIF and Cabrillo file output. Cabrillo is very specific to competitions. When you're sending in your log files after competitions, most of the organizers require you to send it in Cabrillo format. I know Joe, who's listening out on the side there, prefers to get his in Cabrillo as well. Makes life so much easier for him as well, because you just load it into a program, it takes it, it cross-checks it, and away it goes. You don't have to sit down and do loads of work on it. Okay, that more or less comes to the end. I spent nearly an hour here, sort of longer than I thought I would. But what I've given you here is links to most of the software I talked about, links to all of the databases I talked about. When I put this up on the website, all those links are clickable. So if you click on Log for Old Men, it'll take you directly up there. Again, with all the links within all the slides, all of them are clickable as well. So we'll take you straight to all that information. Some then for getting further information, the likes of the ARRL, LOTW Quick Start, Logbook of the World, DXCC card checking. That's one I actually find quite difficult. I didn't know once I got onto LOTW what happens if there's somebody who's not on LOTW. How do I get a confirmation on LOTW? And it's actually within a different web. Although it's on the same website, there is nothing referred to it within LOTW itself. So I found that actually quite odd. If you want information on the IRTS Bureau, up to the irts.ie, there's a link to it as well. Okay, so that's, again, all those links are all clickable. Okay, I've talked for an hour. I've covered as much as I can. I didn't want to go into too much detail, but as I said, there's a lot of stuff there to actually go through. So I'll stop the sharing. I'll pass it back there to Adrian. I'll try and answer any questions as best I can. And I say thank you for all listening.
Thanks a lot, Keith, for a very comprehensive talk, and being a Log4OM user myself, I have a few questions. And for anyone, the links that Keith put up and anything else, this will be available on the YouTube channel to go back over in detail to see some of the screen setups and so on. But at the moment, I will go to Derek, and if anyone has any questions, again, we'll ask that you put them in the chat. So Derek, have we anyone?
We've nobody just yet. I think that was just so comprehensive, Keith. You just blew them all away. So I think Joe has a question. Joe, 7 Golf Yankees. Okay, Joe.
Well, okay, Keith. Well, I can see that your background is automation, by the way. I have a question, and I'll come to it in a minute. But I mean, I thought I knew everything about you know, logging software and all that, but I wasn't in fact aware of the ability, you know, to link it into QRZ and so on and so forth. I have a couple of questions, and they're not related. I saw you had the link, I think, to the automatic link, whatever it was, to QRZ. Is there an equivalent one for Club Log, or is that something you have to do separate?
No, there's Club Log as well, and within all the software, most of the software nowadays will provide the link to allow you to go. If you go back to one of the slides, if you've seen there was a I think an ADI function on the ADI. No, it's not the ADI. It's the external databases. So the Club Log for Old Men allowed me to connect to QRZ, to Club Log, Or did it? No, it doesn't do the club log. I'll have to check that actually and see. But it definitely does qrz.com, hamqth, logbook of the world. Again, while we're chatting in a minute here, I can actually check it on the other PC here.
Yeah,
there
was
club log.
There was a tab for club log, and I just wasn't sure. You didn't specifically cover it, so I was just curious.
No. Well, if it's on the tab, if somebody sends on the tab, it's on the tab. So literally all you do is within that section, you put in, there's a tab for external services. So you put in your password and login details, and it will just automatically, again, it'll give you the options. A lot of these won't allow you to go directly up. QRZ is one of the few that will allow you straight away. The minute you make a contact in Log for Old Men, it'll allow you within 1 or 2 minutes to transfer that. The rest of them don't do that. It'll say that the likes of LOTW will only allow you to transfer to LOTW when the program is actually shut down. And that's by design from LOTW. They won't allow the developers to actually they won't allow them to transfer on an ongoing basis up to LOTW because it takes up too many resources.
Yeah, but it's still automatic in the sense that, I mean, obviously any logger will let you ultimately send the stuff to LOTW by using AD files or whatever, but I think this is still automatic, even though, as you're saying, you have to shut down.
It is, yeah. And LOTW is a classic example of that. There's a slide in there, I don't know whether I covered it or not. LOTW won't allow you to do that. What it does is it allows you to upload only when the program's shut down. So it holds on to all of your contacts for a time period, and when you shut the program down, then it fires it up as an ADI up to club log. It's the same as doing it manually. So what it does is it won't do it on an ongoing basis, and that's an agreement between the developers of LOTW and all of the software developers. They've been asked not to do that. Yeah.
Now, I use the Logger 32, and I suspect that doesn't have those facilities that you're talking. I mean, obviously you can export AD files and so on, but it means that Log for Old Men, or whatever it's called, is actually worth having a look at, with those automations built in.
It's a super piece of software, and it's a new piece of software. So they're taking the best of everything that's out there and integrating it. And as you see, it's so automatic between, as I said, I showed you earlier on, I'm using WSJTX or JTDX. If I click on that, it follows through from there to one to the other and then up to the logbook, all without me having to do anything. There's no need for manual log files to be done at all.
Yeah. And just by the way, with my contest hat on, and thanks for mentioning contests and counties contests, the reason I go for the Cabrillo file is the AD file, even from SD, doesn't show the county worked. In other words, if you work someone on Cork, it doesn't show, in other words, it shows the minimal data required for Logbook of the World or whatever. The AD specification or whatever doesn't include the sort of optional additional information. So that's why I do get AD files all the time, and I say, no, that's no good to me. But I mean, I can convert AD to Cabrillo, but there's a missing column. So
and again, if you look within, say, the likes of Log for Old Men, there is a section within that to allow you to export an ADI file, and you can actually go in. If you've used, say, the likes of Log for Old Men for a contest, and you have recorded all of those extras that you require, that you can go in if you know what you're doing, but you need to know what you're doing again, because you have to go in and select particular fields to export, but you can actually do it as well. That's the beauty of the likes of that. Again, the likes of SOTA, I can go in, I log all my SOTA stuff here. And what I can do is once a month, I can go in and ask it to give me only the SOTA reference logs and export those as an ADI file and then import them then into the SOTA database. So I'm not having to manually do any of that. I can stick all into Log for Old Men. Everything is coming into the one program. I just need to tell it what I want it to do and just export it out and away we go.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, great. Thanks, Joe. I have a question from Dermot. He wants to know, Dermot6FZ, if there's a relationship between Logbook of the World and Club Log.
There is a tie-up. I don't know exactly what the tie-up, but yes, there is. I'd have to look that one up. I know there is some agreement between the two of them, and I think originally you couldn't export directly from when Club Log came out, or when LOTW came out first. You couldn't connect to some of the external databases. But over a period of time, agreements have been made. So I think what he's talking about, there is an agreement between Log for Old Men and Club Log, and you can interrogate the database in Club Log as well. So I can, within Log for Old Men, I can check and see whether I have made a contact on Club Log and whether that contact has been verified on Club Log, and I can see that back in Log for Old Men without having to run up the program itself once I've set up the link between the two.
And is there a relationship between Logbook of the World and Club Log? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Andy has a question there. It's an interesting one. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, just wondering why ADF files treat all upper sideband, lower sideband as all SSB QSOs.
That I cannot answer.
I can answer that if you like.
Go on, Joe.
No, it's the ADIF specification. It's an international specification. Just has SSB. There is no LSB or USB distinction. It's just SSB if you look up the ADIF specification. So that's the reason.
Okay, yeah, no, it's just I find it a little bit. Well, I have to edit all the QSOs when I import them back into the main log, if you know what I mean. I find it it's a bit annoying that I have to use my sort of main log and then a N1MM if I'm running any kind of contest, be it, you know, counties contest or UK EICC, and then when I have to import those contacts back into my logbook, I have to change them all to lower sideband, upper sideband, or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but the mode from, I mean, if you're thinking of the Comreg requirements, I mean, I'm guessing, I'm winging it. I suspect the mode is just SSB. That they wouldn't be all that bothered whether it's USB or LSB.
Correct.
They would assume that you're using the correct sideband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I'd like it in the right.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah, and if you look at the likes of Logbook of the World, it doesn't care either. What it's looking for, again, is date, time, mode, band. It doesn't care, again, whether it's SSB or LSB. It's just SSB.
Yeah.
So,
but Andy, I agree with you, because actually I keep a paper log, like Keith. I keep a paper log of my 2 meter and my contacts locally, my local contacts. And I see here, I write down USB for the 2 meter ones and LSB for the 40 meter ones. So I do distinguish between them. So I agree with you.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
We have a question from Adrian.
Oh yeah, thanks. I have Log for Old Men, as you know, Keith, and being a casual user, it's a bit like a Ferrari when all they need is a Mini. But the thing about the band lock function, I haven't even got that activated. So is that literally the lock icon that's over the active cluster on the right-hand side?
okay, what the band lock does is that ties then to your radio. So if you're on 20 meters, it ties what you're seeing within the left-hand pane then to 20 meters.
And I literally just click that lock icon.
And as you change then from 20 to 40, it will change the cluster
display and the log for
and everything else. And again, you can filter down. Like I'm at the minute, I'm going CW mad, so I'm looking at CW only. So I'm looking, when I go onto a band, I want to see who's on CW only. So when I go into 40 meters in the morning, early morning, I can see who's on CW. I can see who have worked, who have not worked, etc., etc.
Yeah, you can actually zoom into parts of the cluster
Yeah.
in frequency ranges. Now that you learn something new every day. Thanks.
Good stuff. Okay, I have a question. Dave just wants to ask a question. Dave Moore, if you want to go ahead there.
Okay, thanks. I'm just wondering about log for all men. Is that configurable by yourself for any other award, for example, the Walk to All Ireland or Walk to All Britain or whatever? Is it? Can you make it do any award?
No, you can't. That's one of the issues with it. It comes with a set number of awards, and that's one of the problems that I see is, although I'm using log for all men, I still have to use SD, or I still have to use N1MM, or I still have to use WinTest. I personally, I find even the likes of log for all men for contests very cumbersome. I've used it a couple of times for some of the Dutch contests, and it's really slow. If you make a mistake, you can't. You can't go back and repair your mistake fairly easily. So, although it gives a lot of contests, no is the answer.
Keith, I can share.
Awards.
Sorry, I can share the awards pane if you want to talk through it, Keith. I have it up.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's it there.
No, that's the award itself. That's not. Dave's talking about competitions.
Oh, okay, right.
No, I'm not, Keith.
Oh, are you not? Sorry.
About award.
Oh, award. Oh, yes, yes.
About.
Oh no, sorry, Dave. I took you up wrong then. Yes, you can add in whatever awards you want yourself into it. You can configure it yourself. Yes.
Anything, yeah.
Anything, yeah. Absolutely.
So would that be that new icon there, is it, Keith?
Yeah. You can define what do you call it, a particular award if you want to do that. And again, what it allows you to do is say, as I said earlier on, I do starting to do quite a bit of SOTA. So if I want to, if you look down on the left hand side, you'll see a SOTA award there somewhere. Yeah, if you scroll down there, you see SOTA.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I log my SOTA, I can go in and tell it to pull out just the awards that I have put in against SOTA. If I've defined a new award for whatever, I can go in and tell me just to give me just that particular list of contacts that I've had, etc., etc. But yes, I sorry, Dave, I thought you were chatting about competitions or contests. Like most of the software, they have defined contests. Some of them allow you to add in new ones. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Oh no, it's purely awards. I was just wondering how easy can you import? Say the Walk to All Ireland award now? Can you import the 11,000 squares and some?
Haven't done it.
Yeah, but it's possible, isn't it?
It's possible, yeah, absolutely, because everything is user definable within the awards, yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, great. Thanks for that, Dave. I have a question, Keith. The question is, if you use the API key for the QRZ when you're doing your automatic uploads, do you need to be actually a paid subscriber?
Yes.
That's a critical issue there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I should have said as well. In the case that you're not a subscriber, you will get certain information. If you're an XML subscriber, then you get all of that information. So when I go in there, when I click on a call sign, it'll go up, interrogate QRZ, brings me back whether this guy works LOTW QSL, etc., gives me his card, etc. But yes, you do need to be an XML subscriber to get the best out of it. Again, it's only something like $20 a year. I think the last time I paid something like $30 or something for 2 years, but definitely well worth it.
I dropped the API key into it and it didn't show up any of the cards or anything. So
Yeah, that's
I
why.
kind of figured that's probably what I was.
Yeah,
You can
that's
get the information if you click on it, but you got to go and get it, and it does come into it if you. And you can upload it. There's an area where you can go in, and then you can click where the say a globe. It'll actually pull other data up onto QSO, and you can save it then. So you have location, names, use that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's off QSL. It's
One thing. Yeah, one thing that Dermot mentioned, EI6FZ mentioned there as well. It came up actually on one of the websites recently about what happens if on LOTW, and a lot of the very rare stations don't tend to use LOTW, and the reason, being cynical here, they don't use LOTW is they're waiting for you to send them off $3 or $4 to get a QSL card, and again, that information is not within LOTW. I actually find that hard, and it came up, as I say, on a question on the IRTS Facebook page there back about a week or a week and a half ago. How do you actually go about it? And I say only through other contacts that I have, I found out, yes, there is a card checker here in Ireland, and that's Dave EI9FBB down in Cork. So the idea behind that is, and again, some of the very rare stations, you have no choice but to send off and look for a QSL card from them. Again, one of the issues I have is I don't like sending money in envelopes. I never know whether it's going to get to, as I say, Mongolia or China or wherever else, Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan. God only knows what way the postal system is out there. So you are taking a chance in actually doing it, but you don't really have a choice. If you want a QSL card, if it's something rare, if you need it for an award, then there's no other way of doing it. The way around that, some of the guys have actually set up PayPal accounts that you can send them your $2 or $3. And again, a lot of that's just to cover postage and the inconvenience of having to sit down and write a card and send it back to you.
Yeah, okay. Just another question I have, because I'm kind of new to the logbook of the world side of things. You upload your log all the time. Do you ever need to download it to bring it into Log for Old Men, or to acknowledge the QSLs you have, or is there any side of that, or is it just all uploading to?
As far as I'm concerned, it's all upload. You can, if you want to keep a copy of what's up there, you can actually download a copy of it as well. There are import and export facilities within even Log for Old Men. It'll allow you to do that. What I tend to do as well is I manually do it. If you look at my QRZ page, you'll see over on the right-hand side a little star. You'll see a circle around the star. The circle around the star means that QSO has actually been confirmed up on LOTW as well. You'll see back in one of the slides, there was a pane which showed the API import and export. There was another tab over on the right-hand side, which was an import from LOTW as well. So what you'll find sometimes is somebody will acknowledge on QRZ, but doesn't acknowledge on QRZ. And likewise, you'll have a lot of guys who will acknowledge on LOTW, but not acknowledge on QRZ. So what that facility does, it allows you to go up, if they have only QSL'd on LOTW, it allows you to go up and acknowledge and bring it back down then to QRZ. Okay. And again, and again, then with the integration between the software and using the UDP, etc., using the keys, I can see then, because I'm linked between Log for Old Men and QRZ, I can see then directly then what I've worked. So everything is live on Log for Old Men. So it gives me a screen. I can see what band I've worked, what I need to work, what mode I've worked, what I need to work, etc. So that's pulling the information backwards and forwards, and that's what this integration is all about. And that's what the UDPs and the integration between the different versions of the software and different programs, that's what it does.
Okay, that's exactly what I was asking. It's to catch the holes between the two different areas.
Yeah.
So you bring it down and you could send it back up, and ones you miss in one, it gets it in the other.
Correct.
You have in one base. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just say Keith Dermot saying thanks for a lot of work you put in, and he didn't know there was a card checker, so you learn something new every night.
Yeah, well, actually, believe it or not, I didn't know it was a card checker either, because that was one of my dilemmas, because chasing DXCC, which I do, I got so far, and I said there are about 8 or 9 outstanding DXCCs in weird and wonderful places around the world who don't use LOTW. How the hell do I get them? So the only way of getting them was to send a QSL card. And then I said, well, once I get a QSL card, how do I get that onto LOTW? And LOTW itself, once you go into it, is not clear in that. So again, I found that, and I said that came up as a topic of conversation actually in the last couple of weeks with somebody else as well. So that's how you do it. There is a card checker here. Dave, very nice guy.
Okay. Dave Moore has a question there.
Yeah, okay. I'm just intrigued about this QRZ business. Why would you upload your QSOs to QRZ if you have it on your log and you have it on LOTW?
One thing that I actually like, and one thing I do as well, is because I'm logging live, if I'm on air and I don't know 100%, say in CW, that I've actually made a contact, right? Somebody else is using QRZ as well. They can go directly to my page and see instantly that they've made a contact with me. Now, I know it goes against everything, but it's a quick way of actually doing that. What it actually means is, and I've often got emails, say 5 minutes later, thanks for the QSO. And the reason for using QRZ is instantaneous. My log is going live basically to my page on QRZ. You can see the listing, and you see the last, I think, 20 QSOs within on the QRZ page in a pane. So somebody can actually check and check my details and just make 100% sure that they've got a QSO.
But does it serve any other function?
Absolutely.
Can you claim any awards through QRZ?
Absolutely not. Well, you can have DXCC on QRZ, and you can have all sorts of awards, continental awards, etc., etc. There's a whole range of awards, but like I said, the only one that is cross-check for authenticity is Logbook of the World, because of the certificate that is issued by LOTW, and you are the only one that has that certificate.
Yeah, I tend to get a lot of emails asking me to upload specific QSOs to QRZ. I just wonder, am I being ignorant by not doing it?
A lot of what it is people just don't want to use LOTW and don't want to go into the costs of LOTW. LOTW, if you're making a lot of contacts and if you're chasing what do you call DXCC, the cost can start to mount up. So lots of people just don't use it. So they use QRZ as an equivalent. But the only DXCC listing, and the one that's listed in the back of Echo Ireland, and Joe will tell you, is LOTW. It's the only recognized DXCC.
Yeah, it's just another eQSL, so basically.
Correct. Yeah, and eQSL is exactly the same, but again, there's no cross-check to make sure that the QSO that's sent up is verified. So I can go up to eQSL. I can look at what somebody else has put up. I can modify my QSO back here and then send it up to make sure it matches. You cannot do that with LOTW because you cannot see the QSO on the far side. Now, you can't do it with QRZ as well. You'll often get where somebody has put in a wrong time. I don't know what the standard is, but there is a time slot as well. You have to upload that QSO within a time frame. I think most of them are around 15 minutes. So if you haven't logged that QSO within 15 minutes, it won't correspond. It won't QSL. But eQSL doesn't do that. already has put a card and a contact up, and you'll see written on the card, if you look back at the slide, that such and such 4X made a contact with me, such and a time, such and a date, here's the report. Now I can go back and change to make sure mine corresponds. But that doesn't make sense to me.
Fine, thanks, Keith.
Okay, Keith, thanks for that. We've no more questions. If anybody has a question, let us know. I think you covered. Oh, Joe has one. Golf Yankee.
No, it's just a thing, Keith. And I'm a bit out of date with the DXCC and Logbook of the World. You're equating the DXCC award with Logbook of the World. I actually think that you can get your DXCC through Logbook of the World, but I think you can get it without Logbook of the World. I mean, or has that changed?
Oh, you can. You can send, as I say, through a card checker. You can do it through the ARRL website directly yourself as well. You don't actually need Logbook of the World. Logbook of the World is just the machine to allow you to do it fairly easily.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's all. Yeah. So that was my understanding, but it just whatever way I picked up what you were saying, I thought you were actually linking the two as being, essential to one another. But you could have a Logbook of the World account and just and not claim DXCC.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Or until you decide you want to pay for it, Joe.
That's right.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to break the Echo Ireland DXCC 100. I'm going to come zooming up there one of these days.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I'm working hard to get in there, by the way.
Yeah.
No, great information, Keith. Any other questions? Everybody?
More a comment. I think there's too many formats. I actually killed my eQSL accounts because it's a bit of maintenance involved in it. When you have to verify. When as you said, if your RSTs don't match up with the sender, you have to kind of validate it and stuff. There's a lot of
housekeeping.
There is a lot of housekeeping.
Yeah, the one about eQSL as well. It's not only licensed amateurs. You can have SWLs on it as well. So like if you take, I have about 50 or 60 SWLs from all over the world saying, I heard you in what they call in a QSO with such and such on such a date and such a time. And that's an absolute pain in the what to go back and actually verify those. I know that's what SWL is all about, but that's one of the things I don't like about eQSL. It's what they call, you don't have that on QRZ because it's only licensed amateurs. The same with LOTW, it's only licensed amateurs. Which
is kind of a shame because in one way you want to promote SWLs. Yeah. But there's so much administration personally to do that. Like I've a stack of those waiting to be done as well. Yeah. But it's one of the reasons I killed the account. It was like I had 200 things to be verified. It was like, I can't do this.
And do you have to verify them individually, Keith?
You do, yeah, absolutely.
So your file just doesn't do that. You've got to do it tick, 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 tick.
Yeah. So what happens is if you looked, if you looked at the side, there was an X and a tick. So the minute I hit the tick, another screen pops up with me. It says, "Please verify this QSO." So it's looking for a time, a date, a mode, an RST, etc., etc. And unless that all matches. And what it'll do then, it'll send off, if you say, no, I don't want that, it can in certain circumstances send off an email to the person to say, I have declined your QSL. And then they'll get an email back saying, why have you declined my QSL? So it takes a lot of time.
Even if you upload your ADFI file and it's sitting in eQSL, you still have to verify these.
No, what happens is if you looked back at the screen I had there, I hadn't uploaded the ADI file at that stage. So there's a load of stuff sitting there. So what happens is when, if you look at the screen on eQSL, you'll see a load ADI. So I can do that automatically every day. I just don't do it. I tend to do it in a batch. So in that particular case, I upload it from, I tend to do it by date. I'll do it by month, say. So I'd pick the 1st of January, 31st of January, upload an ADI file, export out of Log for Old Men, upload that to eQSL. What that'll do then, that'll check on eQSL against what's already up there. My inbox will be full of contacts that have come in from other what do you call it, from other license operators or SWLs, etc. What that does then, it gives me a choice then. It'll say, out of the list that you've uploaded, out of the list that's there, so many have been cross-checked, so many are verified. And then what it'll do, it'll allow me to archive all those, put them away into the archive, and now I can go and look them whenever I want, again, in some other stage. But it leaves a list then of ones that are not verified, that the information that I send up, or somebody has mistakenly sent one to me, which can happen. And that's all sitting there. And then you have to literally go through those one by one. You don't have to do that on QRZ, HAM, QTH, Club Log, or anything else. That's the difference, because it's there or it's not there.
Yeah, I think it's a pain, all right, but I think for SWLs, I'll always answer them back saying thanks for the report.
Yeah,
it's nice to get a report back anyway.
I think actually it's important that you send something, but I know it's a pain though having to go through them.
Oh, I do, and again, what I tend to do is I sit down one day and go through maybe 20 of them, because what tends to happen as well is a lot of the SWLs. They'll wait and upload a whole batch of this stuff. So you may have 30 from one particular guy who's listening to you on a particular night, and you work this one, and exactly that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always try and answer them anyway. Just thanks for the report, and then just leave it at that, you know.
Tony, you're so nice.
It's important for the promotion of the hobby, really.
No, I get it.
I know.
When there's 100 of them staring you in the face, it's
yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I understand. It can be a nightmare, right?
Because you want to do it right, you know. So
there you go.
Sometimes you do also have to verify QRZ. Certain things come up and you have to match them. You've got to go back into your log pro and then just match the time and the date and say, yeah, that's actually correct. But very, very few of them. Very occasionally.
Yeah, like I say, I've probably about 5 or 6 sitting, if you look back in some of the screens there. And again, one of them may be just that somebody hasn't logged something within whatever time period QRZ is set. And I think it's 15 minutes. I know from some of the QSL sites, from some of the DX expeditions and some of the managers, they give a 15-minute window. If you're not within the 15-minute window, then and what it does is it'll ask you for a time. Well, it'll give you the date, but it'll ask you for a time that you made that QSO. So if I'm going on to say a DX expedition, say out to Cape whatever, right, there'll be a page. I go in, I type in my call sign, it'll come back and say, yes, there are 3 QSOs with this particular call sign. Now, I want you to verify. And the way it does that, it'll ask you for a time. So you go back to your logbook, physically look up your logbook and say, put in the time and the date and the mode and the band. It tends to be, the cross-checking, a lot of them tend to be the time and the band. Okay. And if you're not within 15 minutes, it just won't do it.
I think that's the issue with eQSL. I don't think the time slot is as forgiving. I think the eQSL times have to be, I think it's a much shorter frame that it has to be within.
I think if you're starting off from scratch and you're doing your log and your automation, I think it's very important to do your research first to see which one you like. Now, I know it's difficult with logbook in the world because you've got to be an amateur to get on it, but just have conversations around which one is the best one to go with, to keep it in a kind of limited way so you don't have to do, you know, all this housekeeping around different sites. Would you agree with that, Keith, or would you
absolutely
like
no, absolutely. But again, the problem is that there's not one solution for everything, because like I said before, Log for Old Men is absolutely brilliant. It's modern, it's new, it uses all the protocols. You can link it with everything that you have one source. But the problem is, if you take the likes of the competitions, like I wouldn't use Log for Old Men in a CW competition. There's no point, it's too slow. So I would use either SD or WinTest. And again, but because the fact that you can export ADI files between all these as well, and some of them, what you can do is you can actually set up, if you're clever enough, you can set up that it'll actually scan the files as you're actually using them using UDP. The likes of WinTest doesn't actually produce an ADI file directly, I don't think. N1MM doesn't either, so you can't do that. SD doesn't either. So you can't do it until the end. So, but the problem is that they're too slow for competition. So you have to use something else. So you have to be able to chop and change. There's no one solution to everything. That's the problem. But find something that is comfortable for what you want it to do. You use the minimal bits of it for a start, and then expand on it. Like I say, Log for Old Men is far more than just a logger. You can connect it to cluster, one cluster, two clusters to see what's going on. You can connect it up to the external databases to pull the information back in. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. Again, as I say, I would integrate it with the radio. The minute I change band, the minute I change mode, it just automatically pops it all back into Log for Old Men, etc. Again, you don't have to do that.
I agree with the contest thing. It is a little bit slow, and if you tend to use Log for Old Men and you have your contacts syncing up on Google, it can be a little bit slower again because you're kind of batching up all the time. You're dropping stuff in or searching stuff. I use the N1MM, or I'd use the SD then for the local ones. Just we have a controversial comment here now from Andy EI5KO. No one has mentioned Ham Radio Deluxe when it comes to logging. He switched back to this in preference to LOG for O-Men. So Andy, take it away there.
Yeah, no, I've tried out Log for OM a couple of times actually, and I like the new version, but there were just a couple of things in it that I just thought were unnecessarily complex. In like looking at sort of statistics and stuff like that. I really wanted a kind of very simple, I'd like to know how many countries I've worked in a particular band or whatever. And I mean, I was lucky that I kind of used Ham Radio Deluxe from the start when I got licensed. So I'd always done computer logging, so I was okay like that, and I was quite used to Ham Radio Deluxe. But I just found Log for OM unnecessarily complicated in its configuration.
Yeah, fair enough comment. As I say, a lot of people use the likes of Logger 32, DXKeeper, Log for Old Men because they're apparently free. What do you call it? The one you're using again is a subscription. I say it got bad press at the start, turned a lot of people off it. But I know in the latest versions, the latest releases, they have come back around again.
Yeah, no,
well, I find it very good because it's apart from the whole contesting thing, which there doesn't seem to be a logging application that does contesting as well as doing general logging, if you know what I mean. So there is that, but I just there were just certain things I found Ham Radio Deluxe did better, basically, and it was simpler because it was all integrated into the program. The reason why I ditched it earlier was that it seemed to become very, very slow on my machine, but I replaced the hard drive with a solid state drive, and it's really fast now. So, but yeah, I've just gone back to it in the last couple of days, and yeah, I just prefer the look and feel of it as well. It's just a bit more intuitive in the way it's laid out, I think.
As they say, as horses for courses, I started off with the same. Yeah. I changed over then to Logger 32. When Log for Old Men came out, I gave it a try, and I just like the physical appearance of it and the way it does things. That's just a personal thing. It's like some of the digital software. There's WS, JTX, JTDX. I just prefer JTDX over WS, JTX. It just looks, feels to me, it just works better. It's all down to personal preference.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. And I mean, you can still, if you look hard enough, you can still get the free version of the last free version of Ham Radio Deluxe. I bought version 6, so I mean, I have it, so it's not a problem, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I might flip them between that and Log4OM again, but again, it was the satellite tracking as well. It's integrated in Ham Radio Deluxe. I found quite useful.
Yeah, and again, if you take Logger 32 is brilliant for that. But the interface is slightly outdated.
Yeah.
And again, as I say, horses for courses. Most of the series DXers are still using Logger 32 because it gives a lot more statistical analysis on the likes of LOTW, chasing, etc., where the newer stuff doesn't.
Yeah, the only one drawback I found with Ham Radio Deluxe was that the frequency field is, I think all the fields, it's a 32-bit program anyway, so it doesn't treat the large number, the frequency of like the satellite frequency, like QO100, which is 22,400 or whatever it is megahertz, you know, so it doesn't handle those numbers because they're too large. But hopefully they'll address that at some point in the future. They seem to be pretty decent about updating and fixing stuff anyway. They do seem to be pretty good at that anyway.
Okay. I think Niall just wants to make a comment about that as well. Do you know?
So I used to use Ham Radio Deluxe whenever it was free, and I had it on a different computer. So when obviously the computer was no longer supported by Windows, then I had to get another computer, and of course then you couldn't find the free bit anymore. You couldn't download the free stuff. So unless it's free, I'm a bit reluctant. I'm just too tight, I think.
Well,
it's still available. You can still find the I could even send you the file if you wanted. I have it on my machine, so you know you can get the last free version. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it's definitely out and about there if you look hard enough for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I did try, but
The dark web.
there is one of these guys that host this stuff, or either a call sign or whatever. I can't remember what it is. But as soon as you try to download something, or as soon as you do download something, then you get lots of other rubbish. It follows it, sort of a bit like scam email, wanting you or requiring you to sort of click on this or that and the other. So I gave up on it. I have used N1MM for some of the local contests, RSGB contests, but I had to input all the data by hand. So if I made more than sort of 20 contacts, that then took me sort of half the night to put in all the details and to generate the Cabrillo file to send it off.
Yeah, you see, that's where the likes of all the integration through CAT control and USB controls, all the modern radio, like it literally fills in the boxes for you. You don't have to do anything apart from press the button once you receive your report and move to the next one.
Yeah, I tried. In fact, I think the FT817 was about the only one that sort of actually did anything for me on some of the slogging stuff, where it would follow the frequency changes, that kind of thing. I think it's on the JT stuff, yeah. But I didn't. Although I could read the stuff on the screen, when I tried to make QSOs, I didn't seem to be able to connect. So life was a bit too short for that. chasing around computers and and radio, so it's easier on the Morse key. Just somebody answer them and Roger out, and that's it.
Right. I just want to say a word of favour with Andy about HRD, because I used the free version for 9 years and finally paid up then last year, and I find their backup service is very good. I've only had to use it once, but they send regular updates and what have you. So I think I got a good ride out of it. So I think I paid $90-something, and I think it's well worthwhile, particularly the satellite thing. It works. It's remarkably stable, the whole thing. That's what I like about it. Fair point he makes though about the Q100 and the frequency readout. But anyway, Keith, listen, thanks a million for that. It was really enjoyable and instructive. So I think I have a few mods to make stuff automatically upload to eQSL and LOTW. So listen, 73, and thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely no problem, Dermot. And as I say, if anybody's any questions, you'll see my email address up on qrz.com. Fire me over an email. Anybody in the WhatsApp group as well, fire up a question.
Really sorry.
No, that's what it's all about, helping one another.
Keith, are you getting a cut from Logbook of the World as well? You've really sold it tonight, I think.
Absolutely not. It's just my passion.
Yeah. Well, it's want all this money for QSOs, whatever. Well, sort of, you ought to get a cut.
Yeah, I wish.
He has a revenue account.
I wish.
I gave him a donation there.
So, Dave Moore says Logic is popular in the real capital. Logic is obviously the mother program. I've never heard of Logic.
Yeah, it's around a long time. It's a subscription program with outstanding backup, and it has been, well, I haven't seen log for all men, but I've seen most of the others, and it leaves them standing, even HRD.
That's controversial.
Yeah, like I say, horses for courses.
Have a look. The web is hosenose, HOSENOSE.com. Just have a look at it. Cost is an annual maintenance fee as well. So then again, the logbook is the most valuable thing in the shack. So I've no problem paying to make sure it's safe.
Yeah, just one other thing there as well. It came up when I was starting this as well, is how do people keep, or where do they keep the copy of their logbook as well? One thing that's actually quite a good idea is to put it into the likes of a Dropbox. So if you're, say, using multiple PCs, say you're using a laptop or you're using a PC, if you have a copy of your log file itself, your database file in Dropbox, it means it's always up to date. You can use that log file, connect it from the laptop here up into Dropbox, et cetera, or use it out on the web. And what it also means is there's always a backup copy. I know some people will daily back up their log file. If you're using Logbook of the World, if you're using QRZ, then there is a copy of your log already saved up there, and both of those again give you the facility to download off that. So if you're ever caught out, your PC crashes, etc., and you lose your logbook, at least you can import it again and start again. But what's a good idea as well, a lot of people will back up onto an SD card last thing at night as well. Some people even carry around an SD card with them, with their log file on it, just to be sure. Again, if somebody's working DXCC for a lifetime, it's a lifetime's work. Think of it that way. So you should back it up. You should keep it somewhere that you're going to be able to access it if the house burns down in the morning.
Actually, Log4all men does give you a lot of backup options. It's worth saying that. you know, you can actually have your path for your database. You can actually have that path as a Google Drive or a OneDrive, which is very handy. So that's offsite. And then also you can have a stick stuck into your machine, so it'll periodically back that up every 20 minutes, half an hour, or whatever interval you want. So,
and the beauty of having it on the likes of a Google Drive or on a Dropbox is you can share that log file as well across multiple PCs. So if you're logging into a PC out on SOTA or something, you can, if you had connection, you can actually go straight into your log file directly as well. So it's not sitting on your PC.
That's great, great. I don't think we have any more questions.
It's gone past 10 o'clock.
You've worn everybody down now.
Cup of tea. Oh, that was very good, Keith. Thanks very much. And Tony's made me feel bad about SWL, so I sort that out.
Sorry, that's just me.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay.
What I'll do as well is I'll put the actual presentation in what's known as a PowerPoint show as well up onto the website in a file, I think, which means that anybody can download it as well and go through the links if you want to at some stage go off and look at all the stuff yourself, because it's impossible seeing the presentation like that to actually go off and do it.
I'll put that into the YouTube video in the description underneath when you've done that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Very good link. Yeah. Okay.